Hello, Dallas friends. It's so great to get a chance to talk to all of you. I understand that we're all in a period right now of huge racial churn in our country. And when things are this heavy, happening this fast, and when the news of racial injustice is coming so frequently and with such intensity and from all directions, it can be really, really challenging to keep your energy and your optimism up for the work of racial equity. We need you to have all of the energy you can muster to bring to this work, though, and we need you to be optimistic because, in fact, there are lots of solutions moving forward. So, these are going to be my 3 tips for maintaining and sustaining great energy and the kind of long term activity that really getting to racial justice and racial equity requires. So, the first of those 3 tips is to take the long view. The thing about this work is that it really is never going to end. And it's never going to end because we're a big country. We've already had many centuries of racial injustice, and those centuries, the activities of those centuries, the ideas of those centuries have embedded themselves in our systems, in our institutions, in our rules, so that they can't be undone in a day. It's going to take some time just to make progress on something like police brutality or on something like educational equity and justice. So there are many things we can do in a day, but getting to the full range of racial justice solutions probably isn't one of them. So it's really important that we have a realistic view of what is going to be required from us in order to be ending up living in a racially just and equitable country and eventually world. When I think about when I'm depressed and I think my work is not going anywhere, or I just am stunned at the negative reactions I've been getting, I think a lot about what my ancestors must have felt when they were trying to end the transatlantic slave trade, for example, or after the slave trade ended when they were actually trying to end the practice of enslaving people and chattel slavery in this country. So, my ancestors who fought for years to end the really brutal guest worker program known as the Bracero program. My ancestors, you can see I have a wide ranging view of ancestors. My ancestors who had to fight the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. My ancestors who had to rebuild Native American communities from a genocide, from having 90% of their communities and families and friends and infrastructure and institutions destroyed, coming back from a genocide like that over hundreds of years to rebuild populations and rebuild rights and rebuild languages. That is an undertaking of massive proportions, not something that got done in a day or a month or even in a year, but in fact has taken 500 years for indigenous communities to get to where they are now. So taking the long view reminds us that we can't expect really short-term outcomes in racial justice work, and that the shortest term outcomes are only good if they lead to longer term outcomes, and that longer term is going to be long term indeed. But we can do it. Others before us have done it, and we can do it too. The second tip I have is to meditate, and in particular to meditate so that you can rest your mind well enough to also rest your body and get enough sleep. So meditation is just a matter of focusing your mind on your breathing or on some other focal point. You could stare at a candle, you could pick a spot on your wall 20 feet away from where you are right now, you could sit in the park and look at a leaf, you can sit at the water and watch the ripples, but just give your mind breath or a physical point to focus on, and just focus on that while you breathe deeply and slowly for as long as you can. And if thoughts come into your mind during that period, don't worry about it. Just let the thought come and go. Your mind doesn't have to stick onto it. And if you have the intention of letting it go, you'll be able to let it go. Often people are frustrated with meditation. They say, I can't shut my mind down. I can't make my mind stop. You don't have to make your mind do anything. You don't have to make it be still. Just you be still, and your mind will be still in following. Meditation starts with deep breathing, and those of you who remember, who were at Facing Race last year, you might remember Soinka Rahim teaching us Bibo. Breathe in, breathe out, B-I-B-O. So let's just do that in practice right now. Let's take 3 deep breaths together, as deep as you can take them into your lungs, with a slow, long exhale. All right, on the count of 3, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. 1, 2, 3. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Just taking those 3 deep breaths, I feel my heart rate slowing down, my pulse rate slowing down, and I feel calmer. And my mind was doing something. It was focused on breathing, and I had no time for any other thoughts to enter into my head while I did that. I meditate because I also really, really need to sleep. I have trouble sleeping. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of these tips, but I'm going to give them to you again. No screens 1 hour before bedtime. No TV, no iPad, no cell phone, no computer. Read an actual paper book. I find that super helpful. Or meditate, or do some stretching or yoga. Be in your body before you go to bed. And as soon as you feel sleepy, around 10, 11, 11:30, maybe it's midnight, as soon as you feel sleepy, it's important to go to bed. Because if you stay up past that sleepiness point, your adrenaline is going to kick back in, and in order to keep you awake, because you're not in bed sleeping, even though you're sleepy, and you'll have a hard time getting to sleep once you actually get to bed. So no screens 1 hour before bedtime, no exercise 3 hours before bedtime. Meditation is good, reading a book is good, and there are lots of really great books about long, long struggles to make racial justice happen, which I will send for the Dallas Faces Race website. So you can get your reading done, take your long-term view, and also put yourself to sleep at night. It's a pretty good reason to read history. My last tip is to laugh as much as you can. This work is painful to do, I know. It is triggering. People can remind you very easily of the violence that has been done to you and your family, of the guilt and shame that is attached to race issues for us, of the enormity of the task that we've committed ourselves to and decided to take on. But it's also work that brings joy. There's joy in our colleagues. I feel happy every day when I get into my office and I see my colleagues' shining faces, and I know that they are here for that same process, that same project, that same goal that I am here for. Their presence makes me feel happy. But laughing also makes me feel happy, and kids make me laugh. I try to spend some time with the kids that I love in my life. Actual comics make me laugh. I try to spend some time every day listening to or watching a comic, preferably one who is actually making fun of racial injustice, which is possible to make fun of, at least the injustice part. And most importantly, I look for opportunities to laugh. There's actually a meditation called Laughing Meditation where you sit and you just start laughing. It doesn't even matter whether you have something to laugh about or not. Eventually, the sound of your own laughter will make you laugh more and harder. And I'm sure if you look on YouTube, you will find videos of people, groups of people doing laughing meditation together. I highly recommend it. Laughing is a release of stress from your body and will generate feelings of well-being and good health and happiness. So those are my tips. Take the long-term view of what this project is that we're engaged in. Make sure you meditate and get enough actual physical rest, and laugh as much as you can. Take every opportunity you can to do that. I will add some resources to the DFR website to help you do those 3 things. And I know that if you do them, you will last longer in this long struggle that we are ultimately going to win. Thank you so much for listening.